We're gonna start weaving with a cardboard loom. You're gonna have 3 strings. Choose 3 different colors. Make them work together. Don't so that they kind of are pleasing to your eye. You're gonna take your 3 strings. You're gonna put a knot at the end so that they're attached. Just a simple knot is fine. And you're gonna use the side of the loom where the threads are going straight up and down, and I will tell you the terms after. The other side, the lines are either gonna go at a diagonal or they're gonna be wrapped around the top, and then they're gonna have somehow they're gonna be tied together. So wanna make sure you're using the right side of the loom. I always start from left to right just because I'm a righty, so it's easier for me. You're gonna take a stick. This is gonna help you keep the warp threads from being too close to the loom, which makes it kind of difficult. So I'm gonna put that there and I'm gonna pull it all the way to the bottom. I'm gonna start working at the top. And I'm gonna think of my threads as 1, 2, and 3. It'll help you as you're weaving to remember which one is which as you're working. I'm gonna start with the darkest one as 1, the lightest 2, and then just go down to the lightest is number 3. So I'm gonna start with the dark green, and I'm gonna start all the way at one end, and I'm gonna start by going under, only using thread number 1. I'm gonna go under. Now you can pull it all the way through at the beginning. You wanna leave that little tail there, or you can go under, over, under, over, under, over, and then pull it. You could pull it along the way as you're doing it. Either way is fine. Whatever you're comfortable with. We're not gonna put a needle through these yet because we're working with 3 threads at one time. When you get to the end of the first row, you're just gonna leave that off to the side. Now you could take a fork, but you do wanna pull it. You wanna pull it so it's not pulled all the way through, but it's nice and flat. You can take a fork and you could push it up, or you could just use your fingers, whichever you're more comfortable with. Now you're gonna take the next thread. I'm gonna use the light green. This is gonna be thread number 2. I'm gonna do opposite of what I did up above. So now I'm gonna go over, under, until I come to the very end. Okay, oops. And you're gonna try not to do that. It's a good example of what not to do is get all knotted up. When you get to the end, you wanna pull it nicely. You can again use your fingers or a fork. I think my fingers are easier. Okay, then I'm gonna take my last thread. I'm gonna do the same thing, opposite of what my last row was. So it's gonna be pretty much, it's gonna be what the first row was since you're using 3, because you're making a pattern. If you're more comfortable to not have this stick, you can pull it out. I find it's easier, but that's preference. Okay, now I have 3 strands all the way across my loom. Okay, and it's starting to make a pattern. I'm gonna take my first string. So my very first string was the dark green. I'm gonna weave it coming this way, just over these threads. So I'm gonna go over my second thread and under my third thread. So now I'm ready to start weaving it going back. And I need to look and always make sure what my stitch was before. It was under. So now I'm gonna go over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under. I'm gonna go all the way across. Now you don't want to pull it so tight that everything gathers up. You want to pull it just so it's even and nice and makes a nice straight line. I'm going to do the same thing with thread 2. I'm going to, whoops. Since my yellow thread is coming over the first thread, if you could see that, can you see that? My green thread's going to go over that. So it's kind of making its own stitch at the end to hold everything in place. Now I'm gonna go under, over, under, and I'm gonna go all the way across. Once I get complete all 3 strands to the other side, I'm gonna reverse what I'm doing and come back that way. Make sure you're pushing them up. Now, I only have 1 strand here, so I don't have to worry about it. All I'm gonna do is look at what I have above me, which is the light green is under, so this is gonna go over, under, over, under. Remember, don't pull it too much. You wanna keep those strings neat. Now I'm gonna go back this way. Remember, which is string number 1? My string number 1 was my darkest string. So I need to look at what I have here, right at that end, and I wanna weave it so that these all kind of stitch themselves together. So I'm going to go over my green and under my yellow. Nope, I'm not. Now I can see because it's gonna fall off. So I'm gonna go under my green and over my yellow. And then I'm going to start by going under because my yellow string is an over stitch. So this stitch has to be an under stitch. Check what you're doing. This is gonna have to go underneath my yellow and then over the first thread. And you can always check yourself by just looking at what is done in the row ahead above you. Once we have finished with these 3 strands, we're going to create 1 more set of 3 and do another whole set using the 3 colored strands that you just did, and then we will go on to another stitch.